Well, I thought we could be satisfied with two main things: me mocking Serge, and really just mocking the deeper principle of how propaganda works in movements. But no, 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 Nora, of course, had to chime in. Now, if you saw one of my recent videos, I clipped the part where Tori and Mitch Brisker spoke about the supposedly all important issue of, quote, children in Scientology. And to put it mildly, you think it's a simple issue, but boy, there are a lot of distinctions, a lot of categories, yada, yada, yada. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear any real complexity. Of course, it's simple. Hubbard, evil, disgusting. Miscavige, disgusting. Kids, Scientology, disgusting. Serge is my God. Listen to the God, repeat propaganda. So I tried, guys. I really did. But I was like, well, okay, first, it's good music. The music was good, but I don't even understand. Like, wait, what happened to the I? He took out the letter I. This thing was so dumb on so many levels. It was spectacularly stupid. Like, there was a comment here, not a hostile comment. The person was just honestly confused. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And Serge at the, oh, this is that. No, 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 4,000. I was like, okay. Like, the whole point of this thing was to do propaganda. The whole point of propaganda is to be very clear. Good or bad, that is the point. And I've been struggling with this for a while. I don't consider these phrases to mean anything. Like, kids cannot consent. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? No more kids in Scientology. No, no. And it's like, what does that mean? It's like, I support Serge. I stand with Miriam. It's like, what are these things? They don't mean anything. Propaganda, at the end of the day, is fairly meaningless. So I think good movements should avoid those. However, it is a fact it is used, right? Civil rights movement, Black Power, feminism, whoever it is, American Nazi, they will condense their, quote, philosophy or ideology into a phrase saying, whatever, rights for all people, girl power. You go through the list and you're like, okay, right? Love is love, gay pride. You go through the list and you're like, why are they doing that? Like, what does that even mean? Like, really, it's like you're marching looking like a stripper, say, gay pride. And you really think to yourself, wait, what does that mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So, yeah, propaganda will always be used in movements. We know this. But I think when you try to do that, this is the dilemma. You're like, I don't understand. The person literally does not understand. Like what? No kids in Scientology. Like, what does that mean? They don't even know what Scientology is. You literally didn't even say it was Scientology. You just were clever. Like, oh, there's a no I. So the person's like, well, anyway, so that's another day in the Surge cult. He just says the thing, and he has to explain his own propaganda. Jesus Christ. But let's get to the positive portion of the program. So Sterling Tompkins, and I did say this, but apparently people didn't understand. The major dilemma Aaron Smith Lemon is facing is that a prominent board member who is pretty popular left his organization. Now, for whatever reason, Sterling's image is still on the SPTV Foundation, but apparently he is not a formal member. And Sterling has always had a dilemma because he's friendly with different parts of the movement. He's friendly with Aaron, and he's friendly with Natalie. Serge and him, I don't know. I do know apparently he did the unthinkable and agreed with Mitch saying, yeah, this whole hotel thing, that's just, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Yeah, he's just screaming out loud for nothing. I'm going to try to track down that video because you cannot say that. Sergio Del Mayo has changed the universe. Now we all say kids can consent and no more kids in hotel, except Aaron. Aaron, who keeps promoting this garbage drivel, he actually doesn't even care about these phrases. He's like, whatever. I support my Serge. He's so beautiful and gays. And he himself is homophobic. So the whole thing is a mess. But to get back to Sterling, he's just friendly with many different people. Claire, Mark, even, yes, the dreaded Mike Rinder and Mitch Brisker, who is also, for whatever reason, Mitch Brisker is now the Adolf Hitler in SPTV land. I'm not even joking. Like, just mention his name. They get real angry. Oh, Mitch and his book. Who cares about books? I don't care about books. Why are we going to talk about a book? What does a book have to do with Scientology? It's like, yeah. So I think just seeing the sheer craziness, Sterling was like, he gave it a chance. I'm sure he did it in good faith, said, I got to get out of here. This is just getting too crazy. It's an interesting, deep question. And listen, I don't really fault him. I used to like Jenna Miscavige. And for those who don't know, Sterling is, yes, he's a Miscavige. He's related to Jenna. And I think Jenna has also, granted, she's much less crazy than Serge or Nora, but she's also fallen down this dark path. She did some really good early activism, and she suffered a lot in Scientology. I do consider herself really special, but I gotta call it out. I do think it's very ugly grifting, but, that's family, so I can understand Sterling's not going to do anything directly there. Do you have an obligation to just walk away from evil or to directly combat it? I don't know. That's a deep question. Like, what is your responsibility? I would assume you're responsible within your immediate area and on certain topics, but right, because there are so many things. Israel, Palestine, children are starving, war, genocide. I have to be selective on some things, but the selectivity should be on good criteria. It should not be this moronic, narcissistic rage. Good on Sterling. I hope he does better. He hasn't put out any content for a while, but hopefully he's in a good place. But so I don't judge him too harshly if he's not going to call out Jenna, because that's difficult. I'm a little bit more critical. He's not calling out Aaron, but listen, some people are blindsided with Aaron. So anyway, Nora was watching Tori and Mitch live, and you guessed it, she got all kinds of angry because the picture they were painting just did not match her propaganda. So they were saying, yeah, listen, it's complicated. Some kids were in Scientology because they wanted to be. Some kids, Scientology, not want to be. And from their own experience with their own kids, it is a little twisted. They did actually teach them Scientology. They had them in Scientology schools, and they were publicly pro-Scientology, but behind the scenes, they were like, yeah, I don't think Scientology may be the right path. So they advised very strongly, don't get into the Sea Org. And Mitch was emphatic when the Sea Org recruiters came to his door saying, stop doing that. Stop trying to recruit my kids. So you think to yourself, well, wait a minute. If you're having those kind of doubts, why did you stay at Scientology? Why did you even put them in schools with Scientology? Why did you expose them to that? And Tori just said, listen, it's complicated. Each parent was different. Each family was different. They all made different choices. If you want to judge them harshly, that's fine. But there's no magical, kids can't consent. All parents are evil. Only the children, listen to only the children of Scientology. They were all beautiful victims. It's just not true. Each case was very different in particular. That's the universe we live in. We live with individuals. We don't live in this magical realm of generalities that you can just plug in and say, oh, every single German was a Nazi. No, believe me, massive research here. Not every German was a Nazi. Not every German was a victim. Not every German was a hero. Not everything that Hitler did was stupid and evil. He had some good policies. He mostly had bad policies, and so on and so forth. But if you're in the Nora cult, we have two basic truths. Everything Nora did was good, except for a few things. She's willing to concede, I made some bad choices. I did support the Hubbard at a certain point. And that brings us to the major contradiction, which is the other part of the Nora cult, that if there is a contradiction with the Nora cult, somehow that contradiction is not really a contradiction. Because you see, kids, Nora, and again, that's sheer bad luck, her parents did encourage her to get into the Sea Org. They didn't force her, but yes, they did provide incentives and encouragement. And Nora being, unfortunately, you got to say this, listen, beyond a certain point, you're not a child, you're not a kid. That's just slang. Good or bad, and in most states, frankly, whether you're 16, 17, 18, or 19, and the laws vary depending on what you can get. Driver's license, alcohol, it's all over the map. Just look it up. USA is very weird. You are legally an adult. You have to take that choice and that power of choice in your hands. And Nora was given that choice, and she chose Scientology. No one forced her into the Sea Org. She made that choice. And to actually be fair, Serge and Aaron are more murky cases. Of course, they're saying now, oh, guys, this is, oh, my, I was brainwashed. Oh, my God, my mother. Oh, I don't understand this. No. Aaron was in Scientology, yes, as a kid. He was out of Scientology. I know people don't believe that, but yes, he spent time in the normal world. And then he got back into Scientology. and then he got out of it. His path is really murky. Now, Serge is definitely a more difficult case because he was, quote, very young in Scientology. The way he tells it, he was forced in. We have zero evidence he was forced in. He says he was forced in, but we don't know that. But still, I think we can take for granted, even though, and this is another thing he doesn't talk about, his family's rich. He came from a very privileged family. Privileged families in Scientology, they're privileged. On the other hand, I do believe they might be fanaticists. If he was hurt or faced many problems, if you're a fanatical Scientologist, you may not help your kid, even though that's your child. So he's a more difficult case. But Nora's feeling angry. You're not doing my propaganda. Kids can't get sent or shown in Scientology. I blame everything on my Scientology parents. And yes, Nora had on her mother. Oh, that's another myth. She's spraying. I saved my mother, guys. It took me 10 to 15 years, but I saved her. I got her out of Scientology. Wait, why don't you just grab her out of Scientology? Also, I thought all parents were evil. Oh, yeah, stop asking questions. Stop asking questions. And here's where it gets really hilarious. She actually says in her post, I'm going to reach out to Tori and Mitch. We should have a discussion. Literally, Mitch offered peacefully, saying, well, we should talk and collaborate. And Nora repeatedly insulted him. Publicly, privately, she repeatedly insulted him. And not just like, okay, well, we'll agree to disagree harshly. No, she threw like a myriad of insults, curse words, defamatory statements, slander, just lying about him. And now she's like, I think me and Tori and Mitch can sit down and talk. And again, it might seem like all I'm going to do on this channel is do Nora hate. But I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is like vicious lie mythology. Let's be generous. It's vicious mythos number 205. So it's like, yeah, it's just another day in the park. You know, she's lying again. She's gaslighting. And her fans are like, like a bunch of seals. They're like, oh, yeah, Mitch is the best. Yeah, you're so generous. Like, just warping reality. Like, no. Again, you can definitely criticize Mitch. You can criticize Tori. Nobody's a god here. By all means, I don't think one thing, like, oh, all the parents were monsters. But I also don't believe the other thing, that all the parents were innocent. Clearly, to put it mildly, it's a mixed bag. Some parents were genuinely fooled. Some parents were what they were. They were vicious monsters. They betrayed their children. They knew they were betraying their children. Some of these children have a lot of credibility, and they show a lot of documentation. So, no, they knew. They knew I was being worked to death. They didn't care. They cared more about their title. They cared more about Miscavige. They cared more about the ideology. So it's definitely an ugly, difficult case. And we can be serious about it. Nora's not. So there is a conversation to be had here. But you got to be honest, in terms of stopping the cult, like it or not, the main thing is lawsuits. Some of these lawsuits will involve children and child abuse. Many lawsuits will not touch on that subject, has nothing to do with the subject. Even technically, labor laws, it will be about, well, what the relevant labor laws are, that children were victimized. You know, unfortunately, you got to read up the law. The law doesn't take those things into account. It's unfortunate, but they don't. They look at very formal processes. If we want to stop Scientology in the short term, lawsuits are the answer. And Nora just doesn't have much here to offer, except, guys, they may be upset and I'm eating my burger. Well, okay, but I'm willing to talk. But you insulted Mitch just a few months ago. Yeah, I'm willing to talk. But Mitch needs to apologize to me again, even though I insulted him. Anyway, it's loopy la la land again, as it always is with these people. But no good on Tori for speaking the truth. Again, she was just being really nice and polite and saying, listen, guys, it's very complicated. Okay? All right? I don't agree with everything Tori says, but she was just saying something factual. And apparently, just stating a basic fact gets you in trouble with the Serge cult, gets you in trouble with the Nora cult, it gets you in trouble with the Aaron cult. It's just super stupid and silly. But good on some the first gens, and now increasingly the second gens are like, listen, enough is enough. I'm just walking away from this madness. Is that enough? I don't know. But good on Sterling for walking away, because, yeah, it's getting really crazy.